Society on BCTV is supported in part by the Highlands at Wyomissing.
Hello and welcome to the monthly program of the Historical Society of Berks County. I'm your host, George M. Miser IX, President of the Historical Society of Berks County and publisher of the Historical Review of Berks County, the Society's quarterly magazine published continuously since October of 1935. Not incidentally, most back issues of the review are yet available from the 1930s to the present time. It should be noted that this program is telecast live on the first Wednesday of each month at 7. It repeats this Friday night at 10, Saturday at 6, and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Welcome all to our March 2008 program. Seated beside me are Joshua K. Blay, Curator and Associate Director of the Historical Society, Sime B. Bertlet, Executive Director of the Historical Society of Berks County. Good evening. And Vicki L. Hefner, our Education Curator. Gloria Jean, my regular co-host for nearly a decade, is again away on assignment.
The Society's Museum, Library, Gift Shop, and Exhibition Hall are open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. The gift shop is fully stocked with writing in Berks histories by a variety of present-day and old-time authors. A number of unusual pottery pieces by Lester Brininger and other pottery of note are now in stock.
We remind viewers that for $30 a year, you can be one of us, a member of the Historical Society of Berks County. Membership in the Society includes our prize-winning quarterly magazine, the Historical Review of Berks County. Membership includes unlimited use of the museum and library. Incidentally, family memberships, all living under the same roof, are $40 a year.
And while we're on the subject of memberships, we remind you at home that the Berks County Community Television, BCTV, is now observing its 31st anniversary. It is a survivor and a top venue and unique entity in that it's interactive. You are encouraged to call in with your live questions and comments at 378-0426. Can you name another locally based operation similarly constituted that serves its general area all day, every day?
But like so many local operations that struggles to continue serving its public, it needs your support. Why not salute BCTV for all the great shows it provides to Reading and Berks and send a check for $30 for a year's membership? Mail your check to BCTV, Berks Community Television, 645 Penn Street, Reading 19601. Remember, time passes, but operating expenses never go away. This time I'd like to introduce Vicki Hefner, our educational curator, who has some interesting things to bring to our attention regarding some upcoming events. Vicki?
Thanks, George. On Saturday, March the 15th, the Historical Society of Berks County is sponsoring a bus trip to New York City. In the morning, participants will have a guided tour of the newly installed permanent exhibit, Folk Art Revealed, at the American Folk Art Museum at 45 West 53rd Street. The exhibition explores the nature of folk art through 4 themes applied to a diverse range of artwork from the museum's rich and extensive holdings, many of which are new acquisitions and have never before been on view. For lunch, we will dine at the world premiere private club, the University Club. McKean, Mead & White, a renowned architectural firm, built this historic landmark in 1899 in the style of an Italian Renaissance palazzo.
Is there a view of that, Vicki?
Yes, there is.
Oh, okay. Maybe we can have that view. Yeah.
The University Club is an official New York City landmark, and it is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Our menu is tri-colored salad, roasted chicken breasts, herbed polenta, and a slice of cheesesteak, along with house wine, coffee, or tea. Afterwards, another guided tour is scheduled at the New York Historical Society. Located in a landmark building at 170 Central Park West between 76th and 77th Street, the Society was founded in 1804 and includes one of the world's greatest collection of historical artifacts, American art and other materials documenting the history of the United States as seen through the prism of New York City and state. As part of our guided tour, a walk through the temporary exhibit, Our Founding Father, Lafayette's Return to Washington's America, is included, and it explores the importance of Lafayette's remarkable and eventful tour made in 1824. The cost for the trip is $165 for members of the Historical Society of Berks County, and non-members are $180.
You know, may I add something?
Yes.
Well, I just want to say that this is a very special trip, and while it is not an inexpensive trip, it is a very worthwhile trip. The New York Historical Society, the American Folk Art Museum are really special places, and also, not enough can be said about the University Club. That's a very exclusive club, and it's a very difficult club to visit. They're very, you have to be brought in by a member. So that should be special in and of itself. So, like I said, it's not an inexpensive trip, but it's well worth the money.
And the bus leaves at 8 a.m. from the Historical Society of Berks County, and we expect to be back by 7 that evening.
What's the date of that, Vicki?
Saturday, March the 15th, and at the moment we have about 8 seats available, so it would be wonderful to fill the bus.
Thank you. I think you have something about kids.
Yes.
Okay.
This Saturday at 10 a.m., Kitty Jones of Kitzcaboodle Interactive Theater will perform Grace the Irish Pirate, and we have a picture of Kitty too, for the Historical Society of Berks County. Kitty Jones performs her one-woman show titled Grace the Pirate. The program combines history, music, dance, and audience members are cast right into the show. Set in 1601, experience the high sea adventure with Irish jigs, folk tales, and sea chanties. Dare to challenge Blackbeard, the dreaded pirate. And this is the 5th year that Kitty Jones will be performing at the Society, and it's a lot of fun. It's appropriate for children ages 5 and older, and it is free and open to the general public.
What time is that, Vicki?
It's at 10 o'clock this Saturday.
10 o'clock.
Unfortunately, last year we had to reschedule due to snow, and I don't anticipate that happening this year.
I looked at the forecast. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does.
Not great, but good. Yeah.
Also, the first weekend in April, child actors of Rainbow Theater will be returning to the Historical Society of Berks County. This is the 4th year that Rainbow Theater will be performing at the Society's Annex building, the Hendel House. Please join the Historical Society and Rainbow Theater in an interactive presentation entitled Pied Piper's Parade. Members of Rainbow Theater will perform a contemporary version of the Brothers Grimm legend, The Pied Piper. Parade memorabilia from the Society's collection will also be on display, and guests are invited to tour the first floor of the Society's Grand Hendel House. After the play, light refreshments will be served, and this activity is appropriate for children 5 and older, and an adult must accompany children. And the performances are scheduled for April 4th at 7 p.m., April 5th at 1 and 3:30 p.m., and again April 6th at 1 and 3:30, and the price of the tickets are $12 per person.
And that dates again?
April 4th at 7, April 5th at 1 and 3:30, and April 6th at 1 and 3:30.
Is that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay. That's always very entertaining. They're really quite good.
Yes, they are.
I've been impressed. Yeah, that's right.
Always
And
sold out.
it isn't just for children, but I think some of the adults would enjoy it as well. I thank you, Vicki.
Thank you.
I believe we have a graphic of the cover of the next historical review. Joshua, would you want to comment about the train business on the cover?
Oh, I'd love to. Coming up, we have our next landmark exhibit. Currently, right now, is Beer and Pretzels, one landmark exhibit right after another here. The next one is going to be on the 175th anniversary of the Reading Railroad, and that exhibit opens April 12th and will be open until January 10th, 2009. We're going to be having a fair amount of events associated with our anniversary here. we'll sort of hold off on the rest of these images here for a minute, and if you can go back to the cover a little bit, sorry. There's a cover shot right down the bottom right. That's Penn Street, and I believe that's looking west. That's a locomotive probably hauling a passenger train away from Franklin Street Station heading towards Outer Station and either Harrisburg or Allentown beyond. But it's a really, really nice shot of downtown Penn Street. I'm not sure where the background cover photo comes from. Do you know,
I don't know either. I wondered
Okay.
the same thing.
I was wondering that myself, but it's going to be a real nice exhibit. We'll talk about it a little more in a little bit here. I got some nice photos and some nice objects for the exhibit.
I should comment that the Historical Review of Berks County is given, a copy is given to every member of the society. It's a benefit of membership, and we do 4 of those a year, and it really is a splendid magazine. Maybe have that cover again at the bottom. There's a little, if you can you pan down a little bit there to show the articles that are coming up. By the way, this will be going out probably, what, next week?
Should be the 15th of March.
15th of March.
Yes.
That's almost the Ides.
Pretty close.
Is that possible to pan down a little bit? In this issue, Lieutenant Samuel C. Gundy, most of us know Sam Gundy from his involvement, his long-term involvement at the Reading Museum. Good article there on the historic Hendel House. Entertainment during the Depression. These are the major stories in the next issue. Automotive Reading, 1908. The Flying McElroys, those were not aviators. I believe they were acrobats. And Beer from Heaven. No.
No, as a matter of fact, George, the Flying the McElroys were an aviation family.
Oh, were they really?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Brooks McElroy and Harding Breithaupt and my father started Reading Aviation Service, and my middle name comes from Brooks McElroy. Signed Brooks Bertolet, that's where I got my middle name. So yeah, that's
because there were some acrobats with the name of McElroy.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No,
that threw me, and I haven't read the story yet, so I didn't know. Thank you for that clarification. So those are the main articles in the next historical review, along with a number of book reviews and other interesting articles. Again, that will be coming out, I think we said about the 15th, the middle of the month, and it goes to every member of the society as a benefit of membership. The Historical Society's Auxiliary will be presenting Abe and Mary Lincoln, a romantic interlude, a talk by Society trustee Barbara R. Goda, retired teacher from Schuylkill Valley, and a published historian. This program is free and open to the public. And this Abe and Mary Lincoln, a romantic interlude, will be on Tuesday, March the 11th at 1:30 in the Society's Connor Auditorium at Society Headquarters, 940 Center Avenue, Reading. Come and bring friends. If you have any questions, give the Society a phone call, and we'll be glad to clarify anything that you might be interested in. So that again is March the 11th, Tuesday at 1:30. Joshua, I believe you have some comments for us concerning the current exhibit and that which will follow.
Yes, we have a little exhibit talk on the exhibits, and also brought some show and tell along. But people always like a little trinkets to see on the TV. As I mentioned before, our landmark beer and pretzel exhibit is going to close on March 15th at 4 o'clock, so that's going to be your last day to see this wonderful exhibit. Over 1,600 items throughout the 3 areas of the Historical Society, more than 50 individual and corporate lenders. It really has been a real treat to display the wonderful items. Unfortunately, temporary exhibits, they do have an end, but we take some comfort in putting up the new exhibit, which will be the road exhibit. I'll talk about that shortly. If we can have a look at some of the items on the table here. Coming up also, sorry, son.
No, that's all right, but I just would like to, like I said, Beer and Pretzel's wonderful exhibit, and we really want to...
One of the best ever.
One of the best ever, and we really have to thank Reading Bakery Systems for their generous support of that event, as well as Colonial Oaks Foundation.
And the Berks Arts Council.
And Berks Arts Council, PHMC. It wouldn't be possible. These exhibits would not be possible for us to produce were it not for, the contributions of, concerned and Berks-oriented businesses and individuals.
Certainly not. Little show and tell here, if you can see what's on the table. Some of the lettering might be a little hard to see on the pieces here. Also coming up in the, I have a regular column in the Historical Review of Berks County. Coming up in the column, this issue is a little talk on some pieces here. You can see them a little bit, see that picture here. don't know if you can see it on the side, but engraved on the side it says USS Reading. Yeah, you can see it pretty good there. And also there's a little waste bowl on the side if you just want to stay on those couple.
Oh, yes, you can.
Oh,
yes, you can.
Yeah, that's better.
If you're ever on Jeopardy, I've got a little trivia for you so Alex Trebek doesn't trip you up. There are, in the history that we've been able to find so far, there were only 2 ships ever named for the city of Reading, Pennsylvania. One was in the British Navy, and that was called the HMS Reading. It was a ship that served in World War II from the Lend-Lease program. It was a former U.S. ship that was given to the, well, sold to the United Kingdom during World War II. It was a bunch of ships actually called the Town class, which were named after towns both in Reading and England, both in England and the United States of America. So there was one called the HMS Reading whose ship's badge is actually above Simon's office door on the way into your office. The other one here is a picture you can see right now. This is the USS Reading, which is the only U.S. naval ship named for the city of Reading. I'll give you a little history as you're having a look at the items here. One of 8 identical ships, she was christened and launched on August 28, 1943 in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, actually, by Mrs. John C. Butterwick, a local resident. Her son, Russell, was among the first killed at the Battle of Guadalcanal, which was a decisive and successful campaign, although very costly for the United States during the Pacific Theater of World War II. The ship was used for fast convoy escort service between the United States and Europe and North Africa. Now the city fathers here, once they learned that the ship was going to be named after the USS Reading, organized a fundraising campaign. Were able to get some local businesses to contribute money to buy a silver service to give to the officers and crew of the United States of the SS Reading. It was the silver service consisting, make sure I get this right here, a coffee urn, a teapot, a creamer, a sugar bowl, a tray, and a waste bowl. 2 of the items which are here right now. The other ones are safely at the Historical Society. All this service was presented to the officers and crew of the ship at the Abraham Lincoln Hotel right here in Reading, which is still known as the Abraham Lincoln Hotel, a Wyndham Historic Hotel, was presented to them in a ceremony on January 25th, 1945 on behalf of the city's business and civic leaders. Unfortunately, she was launched late in the service of World War II. She only made 2 round trips and didn't serve combat service very long. She was later converted into a weather ship, was later sold to Argentina, where she was renamed the USS, the CSS Huronia. I forget what the initials are, but she was renamed the Huronia, and she was scrapped in 1966. We also have another item from the ship, which I didn't bring along because it's a little fragile. We have the original champagne christening bottle, which was used to christen the ship in Wisconsin. We still have all the pieces. The champagne is long gone, but we still have that. It's in the archives of the Historical Society. Incidentally, when the ship was retired from the U.S. Naval Service, there was a massive search. I found some Eagle articles from the mid-40s wanting to know what happened to the service, because it came out in the paper that the ship was being retired and sold to Argentina. They were able to track these items down in a warehouse in Virginia, and they were returned to the city of Reading, and the city of Reading in turn entrusted them with the Historical Society of Berks County. Now, incidentally, these items are actually considered still property of the U.S. Navy. It's considered a long-term loan.
We do very few of those.
Yes, we do.
But the government, they can have it.
Yes. Now, one of the conditions is, we just updated the paperwork on these items. One of the conditions is, should the U.S. Navy, again, name a ship after Reading, Pennsylvania, they do have the right to exercise their right to ask for the service to be returned.
So in other words, we'll have them forever.
Yes. Well, it'd be nice to have a naval ship named for Reading, but,
all right.
but yeah, so we're very, very fortunate to have these. All the items were on display except for the tray. I found them in a case to get them all together. And if anybody wants to ever come see the items, I'd be happy to show them too. It's a very, very important grouping from the Reading's contribution to World War II. The next exhibit, as I mentioned before, we have a few items. He's out of the way here. You can see. Oh, sure. You can see. Thank you, Simon. Might be wondering what the gloves are for. As you can see on this trophy, particularly the skin, no matter how clean your hands you think they might be, they tarnish metal pretty good. So we like to use gloves in the museum field, especially with these metal stuff like this. This is a really rare item. This is actually the only item in the museum collection we have marked for the Philadelphia and Reading Railroad, which was the original name of the company, as it was originally chartered in 1833. This is a trophy. If you want to keep that view there, I'll see if I can rotate a little bit. This is an award for the outer station field days. Little tarnished, so it's hard to read. I'll pick it up and read it too.
Let me give you a glove and I can
hold it while you read. Let's see here. Field Railroad Day, the outer station. Let's see here. There we go. A little hard to read with the glare. Field Day, PNR Station, outer station, where the city has their maintenance depot today. Perpetual 100-yard dash trophy won by Stuart F. Leader, local shop, August 22nd, 1914. So this is 2 years before the United States entered World War II. Yeah. Oh, sorry, World War I, of course. So that's this is actually one of the few items in the exhibit that's going to be our own from the Historical Society. What makes our object so unique is all the items that people will loan to the Historical Society, and also a fair amount of other organizations and other historical museums and societies will be loaning to the exhibit. So it's going to be, as George said, the cover, it's going to be a very, very good exhibit. I know I said it before, but it's really going to be two blockbuster exhibits right after another. And that exhibit is going to open April 12th, 2009, coming up in about a month, 2008, coming about a few weeks from now, about 5 weeks from now. We're going to have an opening program at 1 o'clock. Our opening speaker is going to be William Koff. He's a former employee. He's a 42-year railroad employee. He started off with the Reading right here in the Reading shops and retired from SEPTA, the Southeast Pennsylvania Transit Authority. He's got a great collection of slides, and it's going to be another wonderful day.
Do we have a graphic of the sign?
Yes, we do. We have some items on the graphic camera. Thank you for reminding me,
Yes, you betcha.
If we can start with the graphic camera, we'll start with off that blue, red and blue one we sort of had a sneak preview of beforehand. Here we go. This is our new 175th anniversary logo, incorporating the Reading Line's diamond, which was very, very well known, plastered on all sorts of equipment, signs, and letterhead. Bridges. Some of you around the area might have noticed that, especially the one over Lancaster Ave, and also some of the railroad bridges in the area are still marked Reading lines more than 32 years after the fact that Reading ceased trading, and Conrail took over their railroad operations on April 1st, 1976. Let's progress some of the, I have a little preview here. There's some more items there on the camera we're going to have a look at here. Here we go. This is a train at the outer station. Of course, I asked Mr. Miser to help me along with the captions or contribute as he feels. This is a train coming out of the outer station headed west along the Lebanon Valley. This is looking just east of the 5th Street overpass. You can see some little dangly things in front of it. Those are called telltales. They would warn people of equipment, people working on top of the train, either looking to put the brakes on cars or doing whatever they needed to do on the top of a train. It would warn people to duck, before they hit a bridge. There was a federal law passed that banned roof walks on top of most railroad cars, so telltales are no longer used, but they were very effective for being such a simple device. Beautiful. This is probably late 40s, early 50s. What do you think, George?
That time period.
The outer station. You can see the cars all lined down there on the right-hand side. So this is still in the post-World War II boom of passenger traffic, which will slacken off very shortly, unfortunately. You can see is that the Mount Penn Fire Tower and the hotel in the distance there on the right-hand side, George?
Yes.
Okay. We'll go to the next, please. This is a train heading north out of Reading at, they called it Beltline Junction. The railroad today, incidentally, most of the former Reading tracks in Berks County are today operated by Norfolk Southern Corporation, who took over most of the operations in 1997, and we'd like to thank them very, very much. They are contributing. They are the major sponsor for this exhibit, and we are incredibly grateful for their sponsorship. As Simon mentioned, these exhibits would not be possible without such corporate sponsorship. If we can pan a little bit to the right, there's some.
Is that Muhlenberg?
No, this is it was called Beltline Junction. They call it CP Belt today, but that's the George Street overpass in the distance. There's the cloverleaf for Pricetown Road off to the left today. There's a new Suzuki dealer up there. There we go.
Those are banjos.
Yep, those
Yeah.
as I mentioned, see those two little white-shaped objects on the right-hand side? Those are banjo signals. Reading Railroad was very one of the few railroads that used the banjo signals. There was actually a fabric-colored disc in that round portion of the banjo signal that moved in and out. There was about 2 or 3 different colored discs in there, and they would indicate the allowed movement, just like a traffic signal today on the highway. These signals, there's a new group of signals right in front of them. As you can see, they're swung out, so you can't see them. They were not placed in service yet. This must have been when they put the new signal up and haven't retired the old signal, so that's why the banjos are still being used.
Are those banjos still up?
No,
No.
they were no longer used. I think this must have been right after World War II, because that's a T1 class locomotive
Right.
that was built in the 40s, but banjos are no longer used. I think the Reading was among the last.
Are
to
they
use
still
them.
up on the poles, though?
No,
Okay,
no,
took
they
them
were
down.
all taken down.
Okay.
Very collectible.
They're
I bet.
incredibly collectible. That's as I mentioned, it's a fragile piece inside. It's a fabric. It really is a fabric-colored disc, sometimes metal, but it's a wood housing. We've only been able to track down a few, and we think we have a lead on one for the exhibit.
Oh, good.
So we hope to have it. It's about it's a little bigger than you might think. It's about 2 or 3
Yeah,
feet high,
I think so, yeah.
about 2 feet wide. It really is a very unique piece of hardware, and we should be able to have one for the exhibit. So it's a very nice shot of a train headed towards Allentown there. If you go to the next one. Here's a really popular spot. If I get my bearings correctly, this is Clapperthal Curve, looking at Neversink Mountain.
Yeah.
This is a train coming in from Philadelphia. This was a very, very scenic location. The Reading Company used it a lot for their publicity purposes. The new Crusader, which was actually the main train set for the Crusader, was actually built by Budd down in Philadelphia, but they reconfigured the locomotives here in Reading. So they brought the brand new train set up to Reading, and they did publicity shots right here at Clapperthal Curve, even though the Crusader never had regular service around here. It was a neat shot, and they could do, they did test runs out at Reading just to make sure things were looking right. But this is looking north out of Clapperthal Curve, looking railroad east, but looking sort of geographic north.
You can see a part of the Neversink Mountain Railroad
Yes.
line up there.
There's a still wonderful walkway. I've been up there myself. It's still a wonderful view to look out along the old railway there. Those tracks are still in use today by Norfolk Southern. Okay, the next slide, please. Here, maybe you can zoom on a little bit. I know the images are some of the best here. This is a T1 class locomotive taking on water at the Lebanon, the new Lebanon Valley Bridge. This is the one that's still there. You can see it from the bypass in between
Taking water.
Buttonwood?
Buttonwood, and also it's between the Buttonwood and Penn Street exits, I believe so. It's the one.
Or the Buttonwood and the confluence of the Tulpehocken and the Schuylkill.
Yeah.
There used to be a pump house there at Bushong's paper mill
Okay.
that would send water up to that water tower.
Okay.
This is a T1 taking on water. Those actually, they would have called them water cranes, but the Reading Company actually called them penstocks, which actually dates back to the old horse terminology. But you can see probably the firemen up there on the tender taking on water from the water column there. That's looking east into Reading. You can have the next slide, please. This is the same bridge, looking sort of the same view a little later on in the career, a little very snowy here. You can see the American Chaining Cable property in the background, which is no longer there. It's the new frozen food manufactory there. It's a nice winter desolate shot of Reading. Next slide, please. This is the same location. This is actually looking west now. You can see the VF buildings in the distance. Sure. Sort of the same time period. There's a tower there, the little structure there, which used to be used for controlling signals. It's no longer used today. The tracks are still used, but computers have greatly replaced the need for signal control along the railroad or remote locations from other distances.
Is that building still there?
The building's still there, but it's boarded up. It's no longer used. It's either just vacant or used for storing equipment of some sort. This is you had your shot of the bridge being built here, George, in the passing scene 15, I believe.
Right.
This is the same location as that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You see the VF buildings in the background. If we go to the next shot, please. Here's a nice shot. This is 1956. This is actually out of Berks. This is on the northern Schuylkill County around the Gordon area. Steam power was greatly retired by 1952, but Reading hung on to some of the engines just in case they had a traffic surge. And actually came during the summer of '56. They reactivated a bunch of locomotives to use, and they had to give trains a boost over the mountains, so that's why the train's going forward, but it's at the end of the train. Incidentally, right in front of the locomotive there's the caboose. The Reading came up with a standardized design of cabooses used by a lot of railroads, and it was, I can't remember how many railroads used the design, but it was very, very well known. It was actually referred to as the northeastern style of cabooses. Now, you can imagine that's been a lot of force being placed on the end of that train by that locomotive. And because it's a steel caboose, if there was a wooden caboose, railroads were required to put the caboose on the end of the locomotive. That way, if the train stopped suddenly, that caboose could have come to some serious grief because it was a wood. If it had been a wooden frame caboose, it would have definitely killed whoever was inside.
Toothpicks.
Yeah.
Now, is that one of our trustees, Paul Troutman? He has, I think, 2 cabooses.
Yes, he has a former Lehigh Valley caboose, which was a similar design. Lehigh Valley Railroad was one of the other companies to use the northeastern style, but Paul has, I believe, he has a Lehigh Valley caboose in his backyard, and I think, I'm not sure what the other one is. I think it's Conrail Transfer Caboose, which is in Leesport, I believe, but I'm not sure.
No Reading caboose.
Not a Reading caboose. There are a lot of Reading cabooses that survive, including in the wonderful collection of the Reading Company Technical and Historical Society. But after cabooses were replaced, cabooses sort of scattered around to the winds. I know I have a friend of mine who owns a Reading caboose up in upstate New York, and I actually know of quite a few of them that were used as cabins. They would move to their property using for cabins, restaurants, ice cream shops.
Yeah, and charming too.
Yeah, it's a really, really neat little summer cabin that people used. So back in '56, they reactivated some steam engines, and it wasn't until 3 years later that they used this same class, the T1 class, on the very well-known Rambles shots. I don't know if we have any this evening, but we'll be talking about the Rambles. A lot of people remember I think it was a 5-year-long excursion program from '59 to '64. The Reading ran 51 public steam trips, which were incredibly popular. The next slide, please. Here's a really nice shot, a train coming into Outer Station from the north. This is the
good-looking train.
Yeah, really nice-looking train. This is the classic streamliner era that a lot of people are familiar with. That engine there is actually a General Motors. It's called an FP7. I won't get too technical here, but that's an FP7. There are actually 3 Reading engines that survive just like that. There's 2 that are currently right down in Strasburg. They might be hoping to run some anniversary trips this year. We'll have to see how that pans out. Then the Reading Technical and Historical Society owns another one, number 900. I believe the tower in the background still survives, but as you can see in this picture, there's no banjo signals left. They're all what they call semaphore signals.
Josh, tell me, me and the viewers.
Oh, sure.
When you look at an engine like that, okay, now that was, you said, General Motors?
Yeah, General Motors, yeah.
Now, did General Motors power, is that the power plant, and then Reading would have built the chassis? Or?
Yeah, General Motors built the whole kit and caboodle there, both the frame, the car body, and the motive power inside. Now, the way diesel electric engines work, it's actually a diesel. It's essentially a generator powering electric traction motors. But General Motors would have built the whole product. Now, what made diesels really take over from steam? General Motors could sell this same product to anybody else and just slap a different paint scheme on it.
Okay.
Because steam locomotives were so specialized. General Motors, it's like, how do you equivalent today? Like going out today and buying a 4-car sedan as opposed to buying a custom-made Rolls-Royce.
Right. Okay, yeah. But did Reading make any of those, that type of
no, they just did the maintenance. And again what made diesels far much more efficient than steam locomotives. They used to say on diesel locomotives it took 5 minutes to find what was wrong and 5 hours to repair it, whereas on steam locomotives it took 5 hours to find it and 5 minutes to repair it. But with diesels, railroad companies like the Reading could keep just a supply of GM parts on hand, basically, to maintain that equipment. There was no need for there was hardly any need for any blacksmith shops or custom equipment. Next slide, please. Here's our wonderful, this is going to be our wonderful outside banner designed, newly designed. It's not quite up yet because we're just about to get it printed here. Wonderful anniversary logo in there in the middle, and there's a Camelback locomotive on the left-hand side there. That actually was taken right here in Reading near the swinging bridge. On the right-hand side, one of the classic old steam locomotive that was used on the Jersey City runs. But in the background image is the T1 class pictured on one of those Iron Horse rambles I was referring to as well. But the exhibit opens on April 15th at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, and that we'd really like to thank our friends at Reese.
Oh, certainly.
Because they did the design work for that, and I thank Meredith and Ken very much. They did a wonderful job. That's going to be a great sign.
It was going to be very, very eye-catching.
Yeah.
I got to say a little note about that Reading Lines diamond logo. We mentioned how popular it was before. Despite it being incredibly popular, it was a little difficult to find a clear, good-sized image of the Reading Diamond. He ended up finding an image of a boxcar, and Reese was able to work up a boxcar image. Really turn that into something really nice. And on the top left there, you can see the logo of our major sponsor for the exhibit, the Norfolk Southern Corporation, whose motto is the thoroughbred of transportation, hence the horse logo, hence the horse motif in their logo at the top left.
That's really nice.
Now, so that's what I have for the exhibit for now. It opens April 15th, 1 o'clock. We're going to have a raffle of Railroadiana, opening speaker. We've got some model train companies to contribute some items for the exhibit. Got a lot of neat items that are going to be up for the raffle. It was very incredibly popular for the beer and pretzel exhibit. That was the first time we did the raffle. So if you want to participate in the raffle, my advice is to get in as soon as possible, because we were still selling tickets until we announced the winners for the beer and pretzel raffle. But the whole thing kicks off April 15th, 1 o'clock, and last time to get and see the beer and pretzel exhibit. It's going to be March 15th. It closes at 4 o'clock. Unless anybody's there at 4:01, I'm going to be there taking it down. So seriously, I'll be there at 4:01 taking it down, because it's going to be a big project, but it'll be a shame. But
yeah. If anyone has not seen that beer and pretzel exhibit, you do want to see that before it comes down, because there are some incredible pieces that you will never, ever see again.
Yeah.
Because quite a few of those are going to be going down to Florida, and I doubt seriously whether they'll ever come back.
And the exhibit itself is actually just a sampling of what's out there, because I went into so many wonderful basements. If you think the everybody loves the bar section of the exhibit, and I went into so many basements. They were just like that, if not better, around the area. And it's just a brief selection, but it's an amazing collection in itself.
It really is. You know what, since we had some slides, since we had a number of slides, why don't we go into yours, Simon, and then keep the regular slides for the very end.
Okay.
You want to do that?
Sure. And those slides, which ones, George?
I mean the slides that I'm putting off.
Oh.
From volume 15.
Oh, okay. You want? Okay. Well,
Yes, we're going to jump ahead to your part.
Okay, well, that's fine. Let's just talk about some of the things that are going on at the Historical Society. You know, and it can't be said enough that we often talk about the Hendel House, and we were very, very fortunate to be given the Hendel House back in 2000. Marjorie Hendel Perfect bequeathed the Hendel House to the Historical Society for one specific reason. She grew up in the house as a child. She was the granddaughter of Charles Hendel, and she grew up in the house as a child, and she wanted to make it available to the citizens of Reading so that they could see what one of these premier vintage Victorian 19th century homes is like. And when she gave it to the Historical Society, it was with that in mind. And so we do our best to provide that venue and to provide that opportunity to the citizens of Berks County.
And to perpetuate the Hendel name.
And to perpetuate the Hendel name,
Very,
indeed.
very well-known hat-making name.
The hat magnets, the Hendel family was remarkable. It was a very large industry in Reading and Berks County. So in keeping with that, we have decided that every month we are going to open up the Hendel House to the public and just have a Hendel open house. And we've got a number of events coming up that do just that. On this coming Saturday, March 8th, we're going to have the Hendel House open, and we're also going to have Sherry Chrisman, who has a small company by the name of Creations by Sherry, and she's going to be talking and showing people how to create family heritage albums and archive the family history. And again, as much as the Historical Society's mission is to preserve the history of Berks County, we think it's a good idea that we help families around the Berks County area preserve their heritage and archive their family histories. And Sherry's going to be helping them do that by showing them how to put together one of these heritage albums. So this coming Saturday, if you come down to the Hendel's going to be open from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you come down, Sherry Chrisman will be there doing her workshop from noon to 3 p.m. Bring down copies of pictures that you have or family memorabilia that you think that you would like to put into one of these heritage albums, and she'll show you some of the basics. What we're trying to do is design and get some momentum for a workshop series dedicated to creating these family heritage albums, because again, it's archiving the history of the families of Berks County, and that's our mission. So that's going to be this coming Saturday on March 8th from 11 to 3 p.m. Then on April 12th, 2008, we're going to have the Hendel House open again, and this time, in addition to Sherry there with her workshop series, we're also going to have a book signing, and it's a book on Reading, firefighting in Reading. And George, you have a copy of that over there.
Yes, I do.
And the authors for this book are Michael Kissock and Michael Glore, and with a foreword by Fire Chief Rare, here at the Reading Fire Department. But that's going to be a book signing that's going to happen down at the Hendel House, again, 11 to 3 on Saturday, April 12th. And that should be a good time, and also that's a wonderful book. A lot of great photographs in there. Probably one of the best, wouldn't you say, George, of all the firefighting books that have about Reading?
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Fire Chief Rare, who's really an expert on the fires and the apparatus of Reading, plus a general historian, had a great deal to do with writing the captions. Now, some of these books, the picture books that are proliferating lately, are questionable. This one is splendid, very largely because of Fire Chief Rare's involvement. The captions are accurate and comprehensive. It's really a very fine book. There'll be a review on this in the next historical magazine that's coming out, a rather lengthy review of that.
Well, that's okay. So that's on April 12th, 2008. Then we have another Hendel open house, May 10th, okay, 2008. And at that particular open house, we are going to have Michelle Lynch, two of our trustees, Michelle Lynch and Chris Miller, and they're going to do a lecture on historic preservation. So in keeping with the Hendel House and the preservation that we have recently done on the Hendel House, and how we want to keep these homes historically accurate and recreate them as they were when they were built, they'll deliver a lecture on that. And then last but not least, before we break for the summer recess, on June 7th, 2008, our friend Pat Perfect, who is the daughter of Marjorie Hendel Perfect, a woman who gave us the Hendel House, she has enlisted Bob Moyer to do a seance at the Hendel. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Some of the viewers will know him from a program that he has done for BC TV.
Is that right?
Oh yes, he had a program. I think it just used to be based up around Stokes, or at least I saw some that were based at Stokes. He's very good at what he does. He's very impressive.
Is that right?
Yes, he's impressive.
Well, that's going to be a fun time.
It will be.
Then, in addition to the Hendel House, we also, in keeping with the railroad exhibit, we were trying to decide what would be a nice fundraiser that the Historical Society could do this year. And so in keeping with the 175th anniversary of the Reading Railroad, we have an upcoming fundraising event. When we were doing the last 3 centuries in Berks Historic Property Tour, one of the site owners, very wonderful couple from Staten Island, New York, who owns a beautiful farm, the Five Spring Farm, outside of Yellow House, approached me and said, Sime, they said, if the Historical Society would ever like to do a fundraiser here at our farm, you know, just give me a call. Well, my mind started working immediately, and I was thinking, this beautiful location, what could we do here? And I said, the first thing that came to mind, I said, let's do an old-fashioned ox and pig roast. So I contacted the folks, and they said they'd love to do it. So on June 28th, 2008, that's a Saturday night, we are going to have all aboard celebrating the 175th anniversary of the Reading Railroad. And it's going to be, again, a sit-down buffet. It's going to be an ox and a pig roast for approximately 250 guests. We are going to start off the evening at about 6 o'clock, and there's going to be a cocktail reception from 6 to 7:30 with the dinner following that. And when we were planning this, I was in touch with, again, our major sponsor for the railroad exhibit is the Norfolk Southern Corporation, and I was going over our plans for this, and I told them about the fundraiser that we were anticipating, and they said, well, what kind of entertainment do you have lined up for this? And I said, well, we're working on that. And they said, well, if you haven't got anything finalized yet, they said, we have and have had since 1951 a national touring country western bluegrass band that we'd love to provide for the evening. It's called the Norfolk Southern Lawmen. And so Norfolk Southern Lawmen are going to be providing the entertainment for this event. And this should be a really, really good time. I mean, the makings are all right, the location's beautiful, the menu's going to be just wonderful. The band, I think, is just going to play some good rousing country western bluegrass music, so it will be a very, very good time. We'll be starting to send invitations out approximately mid part of April, beginning part of May, and save the date and put June 28th on your calendar, because this will be a real good time.
Will this be open to the general public?
Absolutely. I tell you, one of the benefits of membership, though, it will be open to the public, but one of the benefits of membership is that we send the invitations that we send out are to our membership, and so they will get the invitations first. But yes, the general public is more than welcome to give us a call at the Historical Society, 610-375-4375, and we can give you all the details starting in about around April. And also, I would also say too that we are also looking to businesses in the area if they would like to sponsor a table. We have a number of 2 sponsorship levels that they can become involved in, and all the proceeds from this this fundraiser are going to go to the youth education program that Vicki Hefner puts on for the kids in Berks County, and the historical education programs that we have, things like Kit's Caboodle, Children's Rainbow Theater, that type of thing. So that's what's going on as far as our fundraiser. And then last but not least, you heard me mention that one of the way we got the venue for this particular fundraiser was through the 3 Centuries Tour, and Janice Longlot and I are hard at work on the 3 Centuries for 2008. And I should say Janice, because she's really the ramrod behind this event. That woman works tirelessly on this event, and this year we're going to expand the horizons, and we're going to go to Western Berks, and we've been looking at a number of properties in the Western Berks area, and we're looking at primarily at Marion Township and Heidelberg Township, as well as Wummelsdorf. And I won't say all the properties that we have on the tour this year, but I can tell you that we do have Charming Forge will be opened up, and that's a real significant property here in Berks County. George, you know a lot about that, as well as the boarding house there at...
Very picturesque, and a lot of money has been spent to restore that place to pristine condition.
Yeah, it really is lovely. And like I said, the boarding house that that is adjacent to that property, wasn't that the house that the workers that were building the Union Canal, I believe that they stayed there?
Mostly the workers for Charming Forge itself.
Oh, is that right? For Charming Forge, okay. In addition to that, we have Christ Lutheran Church, where Regina Leininger is buried, and that's an interesting story too. So it's really going to be a great event. It's going to be the same date, the first weekend in October. This year, that'll be October 4th, 2008. It'll be run. The tour will be held from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and you can either drive on your own, like you did, like we have every year, or there will be a bus available, and George will be the tour guide on that bus. So, like I said, this is going to be a really good time. As I always said, you know, I describe this tour that if you don't know anything about it, if you're driving around Berks County and you see a beautiful property that you say, boy, I would love to see what the inside of that property looks like, this is the tour that allows you to do that. And
sooner or later you'll get that chance with this tour.
Yeah, no? Sooner or later you will. And it's it's the type of thing where, you know, it's a once in a lifetime, because, you know, these are private properties, and generally, you know, people can't get into them, but you know, in this tour, they open their homes to allow the citizens of Berks County to see the great architectural legacy we have here. So those are some of the upcoming events, George.
You know, next program, you really should bring a sample of that wonderful band.
I will indeed do that. I will do that. Yes, we do have recordings that Norfolk Southern Lawman, I think they've cut, I think 4 CDs. We have 2 of them, and they're quite good. They really are.
That should be a very special day.
That's going to be a
really
lot of fun.
Special day.
I'm going to start saving my appetite already for
There you
that roast.
go.
That's going to be great.
Yeah, it will be.
That's going to be a great dinner.
Recently, a book of local history and interest was published. Can we get a... Let's see, which one are we going to? Or should we over this one? Once Upon a Time in Berks. Essentially, most of the work was done by Charlie Adams, the trustee of the Historical Society and also a well-known local personality on radio. This is the back of the book, Once Upon a Time in Berks. It really is a fine publication. You can just see as I page through here just how much there is in the way of illustration and very interesting captions. Once Upon a Time in Berks, it's called Reading and Berks County, and early newspaper sketches from the pages of the Reading Eagle. Edited and annotated by Charles J. Adams III, and annotated again by George M. Miser IX. Printed by the Reading Eagle Company. It was published in 2007 by the Historical Society of Berks County. And it's 8.5 by 11 inches in size, soft-bound, encyclopedia quality paper. The paper really is very high quality. 92 pages, copiously illustrated. Introduction by Mr. Adams. It's available at the Society's gift shop for $14.95 plus tax, or for $18.95 or $19. We can mail it to most addresses.
Before 1910, most of the illustrations that appear in the book were actually woodcuts from the Reading Eagle that are seen on the cover of the book and also inside on the inside pages. Many of the such woodcuts actually appear daily, and especially on Sundays, prepared from either photographs or the artist's renderings. Despite the fact that most of the cuts were engraved by hand with knife-like implements, most of the resulting illustrations were surprisingly accurate. Mr. Adams provides an interesting and informative array of subject matter: major commercial and civic structures of Reading, trolleys and trains, Penn Street landmarks, private clubs, river boating and canals, churches of Reading and Berks, mining on Mount Penn, playgrounds in the parks, mountain resorts, Ben Austrian, the man and his line painting that sold for $4,500.
That was the most money ever paid for a painting of that sort. He did 2 paintings that were really very well known. One was A Day's Hunt, which was the most money ever paid to a living American artist at that time, up to that time.
What year was that, George?
Around 1908, and that wound up in the hands of J. Hervey Sternberg on Center Avenue. And it disappeared. They had an auction back in the late 30s, I think about 38. And it disappeared. I think they have an idea where it is now, but it was a landmark painting because it was the most money ever paid to a living American artist for a still life.
Also included in the book are references to secret societies, banks and the flat iron buildings, fairs of Reading and Kutztown, clubs, hunting and fishing, disasters and crime, prison and punishment, Reading City Hall, the 1-ton, I had to look this up for myself, the 1-ton Loudon chocolate rabbit that was shown at Dives, Pomeroy, and Stewart that was so large a child could ride him. Street vendors, the failed plan to elevate or under-elevate the Penn Street under the railroad tracks, which never came about for this and that reason, which we'll be covering in the railroad exhibit. Covered bridges, schools in the Reading and the county, city skyscrapers, industry, and the Reading Eagle. While Once Upon a Time is essentially a picture book, there's much to be learned from its contents. It's a fascinating read. The Historical Society will receive all the benefits. We are very fortunate, Mr. Adams. We will be receiving all the proceeds from the sale of this volume. And it's a great book for a great price, too. The quality of the paper is very, very worthwhile for under $20.
It's available right now as we speak at the gift shop at the Historical Society of Berks County on Center Avenue. Once Upon a Time in Berks County. Do come take a look at it. We will have it available. How much time do we have?
About 3 minutes.
Okay. Maybe we can see a few slides. We'll see what happens. Well, speaking of J. Hervey Sternberg, who bought that painting, A Day's Hunt, That's sterling. Yeah, this is in volume 15 of the Passing Scene. There are copies left of the Passing Scene, volume 15, at the Historical Society.
Pile dwindles daily.
Yes, and sells for $45, and that's tax included. That's sterling. You know, people who go to sterling for various reasons, wedding receptions, banquets, musicales, or bed and breakfast, they go in that door and everyone assumes that's the front door. That was, in point of fact, the back door. The front door faces Robinson Street. Very well known picture, and J. Hervey Sternberg and little Gertrude Sternberg is pictured there in at the entranceway to the port where you drove the carriages through to get out on and not get wet on a rainy day.
Incidentally, Sternberg, Bolton, Nut Works, they also made railroad spikes, and we have one in the collection that will actually be in the railroad exhibit, and it's engraved as the second spike he ever made at the Sternberg Nuts and Bolt Works. It's a silver-plated spike.
Huh.
Okay, that was located on Buttonwood Street, off 4th. There's a building there today, but most of that complex burned. He sold it, and it, well, first of all, there was a fire, and then he sold it. There was a second fire at the time that...
Was it a fire sale, George?
Yeah, it was indeed. American Steel Company had owned it at the time of the second fire. If we can have the slide again, please. Well, didn't we have this on the exhibit?
Yes, it is. This was actually in the exhibit before the book came out. This is the original location for the Berks County Fairgrounds, which were right here in City Park, and this is the Lauer Brewing Tent right here in City Park.
That was what they called a tin type, really a ferrotype. It was about 1 by 2 inches, and it was coal black. There are quite a few hours invested in that photograph to make it presentable as you see it there on the screen. That's a really, really neat photograph.
What was the time period of that photograph again, George?
Right after the Civil War. That's a really early. They were still taking tin types into the 1940s. I was down at Franklin Institute in 1947, and there was an old fellow there taking tin types, and I was so pleased to have one taken of myself. Huh. And he swished it around some. It was actually the forerunner of the Polaroid photograph. They were reversed. And he swished it around. I guarded this thing with my life. By the time I got home, it turned coal black. There was no image on it. He didn't fix it properly.
Oh.
Yes, and by that time I was home and couldn't do anything about it. But anyhow, this is City Park, the Lauer. This was on Center Avenue, and that's right down from the Historical Society. The Historical Society's main building would be in the far right, and the Handel Place would be on the far left.
That building's for sale today.
Oh, is it? Which one?
The one in the picture.
Oh, right.
The upper right-hand corner.
Right. That's as it now appears. Aha. Well, it was nice that we had this feast of views this evening. We conclude our program. We thank you for spending the past 55 minutes with the Historical Society of Berks County. Be aware this program repeats this coming Friday at 10, Saturday at 6, and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Tell your friends about our program, which is on live the first Wednesday of each month at 7. And remember, we now have the first Saturday programs. More about that next time around. Thanks for watching, and we thank you, Simon. We thank you.
Thank you, George. Thank you, George.
Joshua.